We will go ahead and call this meeting of the 437 Board of Education to order. We're going to start with staff and school highlights tonight. So if Ed, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to be with you this evening. I'd like to start off by offering our best. And first up is Justin Gian. He is our Shining Star Award, and he's our student recognition. You want to come on up?
Let's give him a round of applause as he comes up.
I'm pleased to recognize Justin, whose excellence is defined not just by achievement, but by service and leadership. For those of you that go to soccer games, you know that he has immense spirit and really has some cheer prowess that we hear often over the crowds at soccer games. But tonight we're recognizing him for his contributions to the school community. He is a student at Washburn High School who entirely on his own initiative began volunteering 2 years ago to tutor and mentor middle school students in our after-school assistance program. What began as service quickly became leadership. Justin coordinates scheduling, communication, and consistency for his tutoring team, and he shows up every week with patience, professionalism, and purpose. Our middle school students, many of whom struggle academically, organizationally, or with confidence, look forward to working with him. Justin meets them where they are, holds them accountable, and helps them move forward. Maybe you should consider teaching in Auburn-Washburn, Justin. He is especially effective with students with disabilities, balancing empathy with high expectations. This is not just tutoring, it is genuine leadership. Academically, he's at the top of his class of 440 students. He serves as president of our National Honor Society in HOSA and co-founded the tutoring program that served more than 180 students. He was recently admitted to Cornell University, an achievement that reflects both his intellectual curiosity and work ethic. Yet what stands out most is his humility. You're still standing right behind me. Reliability and care for others. Justin represents the very best of Washburn Rural scholarship, service, and character. And we're proud to honor him as a shining star. Justin?
All right.
He stands ready for questions if you have them about how excellent he is.
Well, I just wanted to say, thank you to this district and thank you to all my teachers and all my friends along the way that helped me to this moment. Thank you again.
Okay, bring your mom.
How difficult was your decision picking Cornell over Kansas State?
It was very difficult.
If you'd like to get in a picture with this, you're certainly welcome. Yeah, absolutely. Mr. Raines, Dan, you want to join us?
Two cameras here, so I'm going to start with this one. Okay. This one. Okay. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Justin. Well deserved. Next, I'd like to recognize Kyle Fowler, who's one of our two All-Star Award winners. Kyle, you want to come on up? I'm pleased to be recognizing Kyle, whose contributions to Washburn Rural have been consistent, generous, and largely behind the scenes. For many years, Kyle has served our school as both a teacher and an assistant coach, supporting our athletic programs, our head coaches, and our students in ways that often go unnoticed, but are absolutely essential. He's dependable, steady, and the kind of professional people trust without needing to ask. For a long time, Kyle also worked right next door to Brian Hensel, a partnership that became so routine at Washburn Rural, it was practically an institutional arrangement. So when Kyle moved from social studies into construction science, it's fair to say Brian didn't just lose a colleague, he lost a wall. And I think there was a real separation anxiety there. We're pleased to report that both appear to be recovering okay. That move, though, says everything about Kyle. He stepped into construction science, learned new programming, developed new technical skills, and embraced a steep learning curve, all to meet a need in our building. He did it quietly and without any expectation of recognition. Kyle Fowler does an extraordinary amount for this school with humility that is rare even among our best educators. And we are better because of him. It's an honor to recognize Kyle this evening. Brian, you want to come up and get your picture taken? He wants all of you up here. Better come. Yeah, all of you.
I mean, Brian. Well, let's put Brian. Yeah, I'll be Brian.
Okay, just so we know, these are two of my biggest mentors, and I told Brian the other day, and of course I told him, I think you were the only one I told about this, and I said the only other person I really truly want to be here was Kevin. Not that I don't like it, but you know, it is what it is, and I wouldn't be where I'm at in this school or profession without these two, so appreciate it. So, thank you, guys.
Okay. Excellent. One more. Great. One here. That it? Okay.
Finally, I'd like to recognize Bradley Miles. Bradley, come on up here. Woo! Tonight we have the privilege of recognizing someone who truly represents the heart of Washburn Rural High School, Bradley Miles. Bradley is a graduate of Washburn Rural and began working for our district right out of high school. He's now been a part of our school community for nearly 19 years. While Bradley works a shortened schedule, I think 3 to 4 hours a day, he accomplishes more in that time than many do in a full 8-hour shift. There is no downtime with Bradley. When he's here, he's all business. What makes Bradley special goes beyond work ethic. He doesn't know a stranger. He's genuine, authentic, and brings energy and positivity to everyone around him. Even after a long, physically demanding day, you'll still find Bradley in the evening at games cheering on our students and supporting our teams. Bradley's not just someone who works in our building. He's part of our extended family. And we're better because he is here. We're grateful for his commitment, his energy, and his heart. Bradley, on behalf of everybody here, I want to say that we love you. And it's an honor to recognize you as an all-star this evening. Anybody like to get your picture taken with Bradley, can come on up. Here we go. Bradley, you want me to get your picture?
Congratulations.
Thank you, Ed, for that. Do we have anyone signed up for public comment?
We do not.
All right, we are going to move kind of into the meat of our meeting. If anyone was here just for recognitions, this is a great time to kind of make an exit. Mr. Hensel, we would love for you to stay for the rest of the meeting if you want to, but okay. But we are going to go ahead and move on to roll call. Everyone but Brian Smith is present. And then we'll move to 3.02, approval of the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda as published.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. All those in favor? Motion passes 6-0. We'll move on to section 4, disposition of business by consent.
I move the Board of Education approve business by consent, including the payment and the bills of the amount of $1,804,251.77.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. All those in favor? Motion passes 6-0. We'll move on to section 5. It doesn't look like any administrator reports tonight. And so section 6, 6.01 is K-12 Mastery 10 Standards for Social Studies.
Hello again, everyone. Self plugged in here. We have made it to the end of our core subjects. So we are talking about K-12 Social Studies Mastery 10 Standards this evening. So again, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I want to walk you through just a little bit of information about these social studies standards. They are slightly different in how they are organized than the other core areas. So our social studies standards are based on the National College, Career, and Civic Life, or otherwise known as the C3 framework, with our content that's focused on our Kansas standards. So if we think about our Mastery 10 standards for social studies, they highlight what must be mastered within a grade band. So again, this, like I said, these are a little bit different. So rather than each grade level, they're banded by K2, 3, 5, 6, 8, and 9, 12. And then all standards are still taught, much like the other Mastery 10 standards. It's just that they are taught in supporting fashion if they're not mastery. Again, these are implemented and supported by our board-approved instructional materials as well. So in terms of our process for these standards, it was much like the other content areas. It was highly collaborative. We included all staff in the input in the fall of 2024. We've had ongoing collaboration with our teachers, with our DCCs throughout the last year and a half. We circled back with all staff again this fall, and actually just last Wednesday, Morgan Brown and I met with both our elementary social studies department curriculum committee as well as our secondary group to kind of revise that process again, just to have feedback, communication about what's working, what might we need to fix a little bit. So we reviewed those last week, and then our feedback and continuous improvement will occur as we go throughout time. So included for your review this evening are our K-12 Mastery 10 Standards overview that gives you the standard and the rationale for choosing that standard, as well as our K-5 alignment and our 6-12 vertical alignment as well. And again, please note that these standards are built in grade bands. So what would a student know by the end of 2nd, by the end of 5th, by the end of 8th and 12th? But they are all adopted for each and every grade course associated in K-12. Items up for discussion next time will be our specials, so PE, music, art, and library. In terms of this evening, what questions might you have about social studies?
Questions?
All right, thank you.
Thanks. All right, we will move on to 6.02, which is capital outlay for 2026, 2027. Rich?
I think I have that one. I'd like to kind of start out with a little bit of an overview of what capital outlay is and how that process works. I know some of you haven't been here for that before. Just kind of, I know Dr. McWilliams sent out in his Friday brief the 4 sheets that have the recommended equipment, not recommended equipment, the recommended facilities and not recommended facilities. So those are in there, and they're in the board docs for you to review as well. Capital outlay is a budget that we have that can only be spent for certain items, and it's typically like facility items, equipment items, roofs, parking lots, buses, things like that can't or usually typically don't come out of the general fund. So capital outlay covers those items. And every year, we start about in October, November, Patrick Clear and I will go out, visit with all the building principals, walk their buildings, take a look at things that they may need or want in their buildings. And then they give us recommendations. We come back and we put budget estimates to those items. And then it goes to an admin subcommittee for recommendations. And then we have a board subcommittee that reviews those recommendations, and then we bring it to the board. The subcommittee met right before the board meeting tonight to review those spreadsheets and go over those items. One thing, just as kind of a reminder, capital outlay, most of those projects are done in the summer months, but what's approved in the spring isn't actually done typically until the following summer. So if there's safety items or things that are pressing that need to be done, some of those things, because the way the revenue comes in, that revenue stream, we get some in July, some in January, so we have to kind of balance those projects out and have the cash in the bank to support those projects before we start them. We actually are in a really good place right now with our buildings. We didn't get near the request that we typically would because we've had the blessing or the benefit of having the bond. And we've been able to get a lot of things done with the bond. And some of those items that we've been able to do and fit into those building projects are helping us out with our capital outlay. So that takes a little bit of stress off of that budget to be able to do some of the other things that we need to do. So if there's any questions, anything on that, I feel like we're in a really good spot right now with capital outlay. There weren't a lot of questions from the subcommittee. I think we covered those, but if anybody has questions between now and the 16th, happy to answer those, or Patrick's happy to help with that, Brett. We can answer those questions before the next meeting, but.
The only other, thanks, Rich, for that. The only other thing I'll mention is sometimes when we say do not recommend, sometimes the phrase we use is not yet or not now. And so that might be something that we would like to eventually get to, or it might be an item that costs so much that it takes a couple of years to build up enough to be able to complete it. And so Rich will have those one-off conversations with the principal if it's a building item to say, hey, we'll get there. We just can't get there quite yet this year. So sometimes no doesn't mean no forever.
Well, there were also some things on the list that can't be done in necessarily capital outlay, but there's other avenues to fund those.
Correct,
So we
yes.
look at that not recommended list sometimes.
Right, so some of
That's the
those
case as well.
supply type items or things like that, capital outlay funds can't be used for those, but there's potential of other funding sources that we can work through to try to get those things that are needed in the buildings for a program.
All right, any questions for Rich? If not, that will come back for approval at the next board meeting.
Thank you.
So then we'll move on to 6.03, which is board policy updates first read.
That's right. So as a friendly reminder, this is a part of the work that the legal counsel does at the Kansas Association of School Boards. During the winter time, typically in December, they'll send out a handful of updates to policies. And so we have bundled four together that are extremely easy, not much content change. For board policy BC-BK, it's stating the obvious. We can't do any kind of a recording in executive session. We already knew that. Policy BG, it's possible to be a member of the National School Board Association without being a member of KASB. They've updated that policy. Board policy IKCA removed a reference to AIDS, which previously had been in the policy. And then the last one, in regards to adult students, the law actually provides a little flexibility that our board policy did not. So they made an update in that to be in compliant with policy. So these are pretty straightforward, easy to work with. We have a handful of others that they are recommending from December. We're currently vetting those right now. As soon as we have them ready for you, we'll bring those at an upcoming meeting.
Questions for Scott? Would anybody have a problem with this going on the consent agenda for next time, or? Okay, I think we can put it on
Appreciate
consent.
that. That'll go on the consent. Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to section 7. 7.01 is K-12 Mastery 10 standards. for science final week. So any questions or comments on that, or otherwise would entertain a motion?
Move the Board of Education approve the presented standards as the official district curriculum for K through 12 science.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. All those in favor? Motion passes 6-0.
Thanks, Jenny.
We'll move on to 7.02, which is staff request for 2 paraprofessional positions.
I'll move the Board of Education approve the addition of a 6th grade paraprofessional at Washburn Rural North Middle School and a CNA paraprofessional at J. Scheidler Elementary.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. All those in favor? Motion passes 6-0. Let's move on to communications. 8.01 is superintendent search update, which is kind of our standing item to kind of update. So HYA will be here next meeting, is that
Next
correct?
meeting,
Okay,
February
just
16th,
making
correct.
sure I'm saying that right. So,
Yep.
and then that's kind of the next step. So we're getting close to starting the culling and interviewing process. So it'll be exciting next few months with hopefully spring break-ish time, kind of having a decision made. So Chelsea, anything to add to that or anything else, or Jessica?
The timeline, to just make sure everybody remembers, is that the application date closes on the 9th. We do have a candidate full forming, it's pretty strong, so we're happy. But HYA will be here with the candidate making an executive session on the 16th, so we'll those votes and see who we want to move forward.
Perfect. All right. So at this time, the chair would move that we go into executive session at 6:53 PM to discuss students pursuant to the exception relating to the actions adversely or favorably affecting a student under coma, to discuss personnel matters pursuant to the exception of non-elected personnel under coma, and to discuss budget pursuant to the exception for employer-employee negotiations under coma for 20 minutes. The open meeting will resume in the boardroom at 7:13 PM.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. All those in favor? Motion passes 6-0. We are in executive session. We are back in open session after being in executive session.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
It's been a motion and a second. All those in favor? Motion passes 6-0. We are adjourned.